Hello, everyone. This is our Boundaries Boot Camp. And today what we're going to do is we're going to introduce some advanced personal growth concepts so that you can see how beliefs and boundaries connect. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go over this in slideshow mode so that people who are not here today can actually hear it. And then I'm going to turn off the recording so that the people who are here today can discuss it. All right. So one thing I just want to remind you of is the purpose for this in-depth work on boundaries that we've been doing. So our goal is that you can more quickly identify when boundaries are broken and make an adjustment. Two, that you realize over this time that you have improved patterns of interacting with the people in your work and life. And three, that you feel confident in using the process you've developed in new situations as you encounter difficult people's relationship channels. So I just want to start with this so that you see that, okay, this is the goal. And so what we spent a lot of time the last several sessions on is coming up with sentences and talking about how to get clear on your boundaries and how to communicate your boundaries and when to communicate your boundaries and when not to communicate your boundaries. Now we're going to talk about something deeper. And in order to do that, I want to take you back to a model that I use often. If those of you that have been with me for a long time, you're going to recognize this, but some of you may not. So I'll just let you know that this is my obstacles pyramid. So what is an obstacles pyramid? So typically what I'll tell people is when we get stuck, there's levels to how we're stuck. And the obstacles pyramid is this way that I define the levels. So a lot of times people feel like they're stuck and they just need to know what to do. And so knowing what to do, you can get that figured out in a couple of hours. And if that helps you do it, then that was your level of stuckness. But often what happens is people will have a conversation for a couple hours. They'll get really clear, they'll have a plan, but they won't execute the plan. And the reason they won't execute the plan is because there are other things underneath that are really causing the confusion. It's not just the surface level symptom. So at the top, we have things that are more obvious that we know, okay, this is getting in my way. And it seems like they would be pretty easy to remove these obstacles, like systems and habits. You know, I got to build some new habits, or I have to get rid of a bad habit. But what ends up happening is there's this sort of hierarchy of things that get in your way. As you go up the pyramid, so the higher levels, obstacles are easier to see and take less time to change, but often the changes are temporary and you may feel like you're repeating patterns or circling back to the same obstacles. So when we do coaching up here at the top, based on getting you some clarity, maybe getting, helping you make a decision or just talking about your habits, it may seem like you have a resolution and you may feel very happy after a phone call, but then you may still be running into the same problems over and over again. And that's usually because there's issues down here that we did not address. As you go down the pyramid, obstacles are less obvious and they take more time to change, but once they're shifted, they make a bigger positive difference in your life. So why are we talking about this in a boundaries class? The reason we are doing this is because when we talk about relationships, we talk about setting boundaries, we're kind of here at the middle level. We're talking about how to prevent people from hurting you or people's behavior from harming you, from draining you, from getting in your way, from sapping your energy, from frustrating you, etc. But what we're not talking about is what may lead you to create these types of relationships in the first place, or to have these types of relationship dynamics in the first place. And so today, what I wanted to do was just kind of go to the very base level of beliefs and kind of show how this all fits together, just so that you can think about it in a big picture way, but also in a deep personal growth way. So under relationships, you'll see I put the word boundaries here. Under needs, which is even deeper, I put the word triggers here. So we often will have you do a trigger log. Every time you have a surge of emotion or an emotional reaction, if you do the mental fitness boot camp, that's when you're hijacked. It's because you have an unmet need. Your beliefs are even deeper than your unmet needs. I called them your life definers because we will not see anything outside of our beliefs. What we believe is what we see in the world. So what we believe is possible is what we see in the world. And how does this impact boundaries? Well, when we do advanced personal growth, we help identifying your core deep beliefs, the ones that are getting in the way of you getting your needs met, your scarcity beliefs, and your survival beliefs. Your ability to set good boundaries will be influenced chiefly by your scarcity and your survival beliefs. Because what happens is your scarcity and your survival beliefs tell you what other people will and will not do for you in the world. And they kind of determine the shape of your relationships. They determine how you shape your relationships or how you influence the shape of your relationships. And if you can get some clarity on this, then you can reshape relationships. But if you don't get clarity on this, then your relationships will stay in the same shape despite all your efforts to set boundaries. So let me give you some examples. If I believe that others will not support me, are not trustworthy, won't do things right, will not listen to me, or will leave me, or if I believe that I am not lovable, am not worthy, am not important, am not good enough, then I will be triggered anytime anybody else behaves in a way that lines up with these beliefs. So now I'm getting to the needs level because I'm getting triggered. And I won't believe that I can change their behavior because I believe this is ingrained behavior. So I will feel threatened by the behavior and I will experience one of my hijackers. And what happens when I get threatened or hijacked is I go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. So if you think about all the saboteurs in the mental fitness program, they do various different things, but they're usually some reflection of fight, flight, or freeze, right? So what ends up happening is you'll feel threatened and you'll get hijacked and you'll go into flight, fright, or freeze mode, and you'll either withdraw, accommodate, or fight back, but you'll have all of this negative energy that comes from being hijacked coming through. And this is the place where you'll be trying to set boundaries from. And you also, at a deep level, won't believe that the behavior will change. So the behavior won't change. So this is where beliefs come into the picture. Now, on the other hand, if I believe that others will support me, are trustworthy, will do things right, will listen to me, will stay with me, if I believe that I am lovable, that I am worthy, that I am important, that I am good enough, then I will not be triggered when others behave in ways that appear opposite to these beliefs. So if I believe that people will support me and somebody doesn't support me, it doesn't trigger me as much as if I believe that people won't support me and someone doesn't support me. If I believe that someone won't support me and they don't support me, I'll go, see, people just don't support me. No one will ever support me. And my saboteur will jump in and take over. Your saboteur is basically your survival belief. Okay. So, but if I believe that people will support me and somebody engages in the same behavior and doesn't support me, because I inherently believe that there's tons of support in the world, now we're talking about scarcity beliefs. If I believe that support is abundant to me, then when one little measly person doesn't support me, I don't get triggered. And so it's easy for me to set that boundary. I stay in sage mode. I stay calm. I stay confident, right? If I believe that people will do things right and one person does something wrong, I don't get triggered. I just set the boundary. It's so much easier to set the boundaries when I'm not triggered, but I get triggered because of my beliefs. So I wanted to tie this all together for you. And this is why after we finish the boundaries, we're going to revisit your puzzles so that we make sure that you're really, really clear on what your puzzle looks like, what your beliefs are, because what's really going to help you with the boundary setting is also doing this deeper personal growth work. All right, so for those of you that are listening to the recording, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to turn the recording off. And for those of you that are here, we're going to discuss this more deeply. So Let me turn the recording off right now.